Welcome back to Aperi TV for our fourth installment in our Great American Songbook series, which will explore the music of Richard Rodgers and his collaborations with Larry Hart and Oscar Hammerstein. So before we begin, a huge thank you to those who have supported us on Ko-fi. Your contributions are what make the show possible and will help us expand even more in the future. So to chip in, please check out the link below. Every single little bit helps. And before we begin, I have to introduce what I'm drinking. So this is a screwdriver, not too fancy, but it's hot out, nice and refreshing. So orange juice, vodka, a little bit of club soda, you know the drill. Rachel, what do you have over there?
Thanks, Caroline. I feel like it's like you're like back in like freshman year of college with that screwdriver. I love it. And it just reminds me of like vodka, orange juice. Now we're going to a party. I'm drinking a vodka tonic with lavender lemon simple syrup. It's just a little bit sweet, a little bit fruity, and I love it. And so, yes, we are really excited to bring you the music of Richard Rodgers. This is like the best day ever. He was the first person in history to win all of the US Entertainment Awards. If you didn't know that, the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, the Tony. If you didn't know, that's called the EGOT. And with his collaborations with Hammerstein and Hart, he composed some of the most famous musicals of all time. South Pacific, Babes in Arms, Boys of Syracuse, Carousel, Cinderella. I'm going to stop there. There are a million. So anyway, today we're being joined by my friend Eden Castile, and I'll introduce her just a little bit. So she and I met at NATS, National Association of Teachers of Singing. Wow, I hate saying that. I say that all the time to people. NATS is a national program, if you don't know, that supports young singers and vocal research. And it's a huge national organization. So anyway, Eden was the president of the Rhode Island chapter, and that's how I met her several years ago now, when I first moved to Rhode Island. She is an awesome performer. She's performed all over New England. She in Rhode Island has performed with the GAM Theater and the Ocean State Theater Company when they were still around. She also has a private studio. She produces music and records, and she also has a recording studio in her home. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you a bit about her. Before I do, I just wanted to mention later in the show, the three of us are going to pay a tribute to a colleague and friend that we lost recently in the Rhode Island community. So Eden, Caroline, and I recorded a trio together. So stay tuned for that. So Eden, please introduce yourself. Tell us all about yourself and also the Eden Show, which is the show that you put online every week. And tell us what you're drinking.
Oh, well, let's get to that first, friends. Thank you for having me on, Rachel and Caroline. I'm a basic, so this is an Aperol Spritz. I actually had some leftover Prosecco last night from the Eden show because that's how I roll. And so what are you going to do? Right? You're going to add some Aperol and that's it. I don't even know if I said Aperol right. I don't care. It's tasty. It's like me. It's not too sweet. So, and loaded, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to tell you a little more about what I do. Yes, this is my studio and I've known Rich for a long time. Caroline's my new friend and this is a great show. And I love the music of Rodgers and Hammerstein and Rodgers and Hart and Kern and Hammerstein. They're wonderful. And I get to perform some of it sometimes. Like, which Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals have I done in my life? King and I did Tup Tim. Carousel? No, I saw a really bad production of Carousel one time. That should count. And Showboat, Kern and Hammerstein. I played Magnolia in that. And I think that was my final Rodgers and Hammerstein. But like you, have sung it over the years. It feels fantastic to sing. So much fun. And so I've coached it for years, which is really fun as well. So I'm glad to get the opportunity to actually get to sing a couple of them today. So I help coach singers in my home studio. I also write songs with my students and we produce albums. So thanks to the magic of Zoom, I can show you, this is the background of what's coming up soon. There. There, can't hide it. It's called Peacedale Hayride, and it's a country album with 9 of my singers, and they're actually in here this month recording in this home studio. But we wrote the songs together, and I arranged them here, and then we'll have an album release party sometime in May, and there will probably be Aperol involved. So that's one of the things I do. The other thing that I do is this, the Eden Show, which is great. I get to see me. Did I do that right? Can you see me? Hi, me. So that's on Friday nights on my YouTube channel. You can find it through EdenCastile.com. And just like you, it's really fun to get to meet up with your friends online and to make music with them, and tell jokes and stories. So every week I have a different guest on and we perform for an hour. We just tell stories. And I even have my lawyer on talking about legal stuff. So we call it the billable minute. He gets exactly 1 minute and that way I don't have to pay him. So that's what I do.
Thank you, Eden. So happy to have you with us. And thank you for sharing all of those amazing projects. And yes, be sure to check out EdenCastile.com. I'll include a link in the comments for you to find out more about Eden and what she has coming up. So to start us off, I will be singing Mr. Snow, which is from Carousel. Eden, I hope I do a better job than whoever was in the production you saw. Anyway, Carousel was the second Rodgers and Hammerstein musical and was originally based off the play Lilium. So eventually Richard Rodgers would go on to describe this as his personal favorite composition of his. So the main plot involves a carousel barker, Billy Bigelow, and his relationship with Julie Jordan, who works in the neighboring mill. Not the most upbeat story, but music is still beautiful. So anyway, the B plot revolves around Julie's best friend, Carrie, and her courtship with an ambitious fisherman, Enoch Snow. Yeah, that's his name. So in Mr. Snow, Carrie is excitedly describing her romance to Julie and how she dreams of marrying Mr. Snow. It's pretty much a staple in every High Sopranos audition book, so I hope you enjoy. His name is Mr. Snow, and an upstanding man is he. He comes home every night in his round-bottomed boat with a net full of herring from the sea. An almost perfect beau, as refined as a girl could wish. But he spends so much time in his round-bottomed boat that he can't seem to lose the smell of fish. The first time he kissed me, the
Caroline. I think Carousel is my absolute favorite Rodgers and Hammerstein show. There's so many wonderful songs. And my first song today is If I Loved You. This is a duet between Billy and Julie, and it comes shortly after Mr. Snow. And after Julie has allowed Billy to put his arm around her at the carousel, the owner, Mrs. Mullen, I think that's how you pronounce her name, tells Julie never to return. And then she and her friend Carrie get in an argument with her. And then Billy mocks Mrs. Mullen and gets fired, and then asks Julie out for a drink, and she refuses. And then later, he, isn't going to give up. He comes back to talk to her. And even though she's out late, which is considered taboo for her or for any woman in this town, they stay up and talk about what it might be like to be in love with each other. So that's this duet. So enjoy.
When I worked in the mill, weaving at the loom, I'd gaze absent-minded at the roof, and half the time the shuttle would tangle in the threads, and the warp would get mixed with the woof. If I loved you, but somehow I can see just exactly how I'd be if I loved you. Time and again I would try to say all I'd want you to know. If I loved you, words would come in an easy way, round in circles I'd go, longing to tell you, but afraid and shy. I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me, off you would go in the midst of a day, never, never to
And now I am here to offer you a song that is traditionally not sung by a soprano in Rodgers and Hammerstein. This is from South Pacific. It's called There Is Nothing Like a Dame, although I do agree with the sentiment. South Pacific is based on the novel by James Michener, which came out in 1947, and the musical debuted on Broadway in 1949. The production won 10 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, Best Score, Best Libretto. It is the only musical production to win Tony Awards in all 4 of the acting categories. It is unusual because it was one of the first Rodgers and Hammerstein shows that didn't have a ballet in it. Carousel had a ballet, right? Oklahoma had a ballet, but they decided not to put those soldiers in a ballet. They had also unusual in that it had an older male lead who was played by an opera singer, Ezio Pinza, and was hired specifically for the part. And in his contract, he would only allow 15 minutes of singing per show. So they had to write the part of Emile de Becque, but only give him 15 minutes of singing. Nice work if you can get that. He had problems, though, because every week when he started running the show, he would sing at full voice. He wasn't used to having to do 8 shows a week. So he quickly became hoarse, even on 15 minutes a night, right? So Mary Martin had to teach him how to pace himself for singing. And she was the first Nellie Forbush. Also unusual in that there were no duets for them because, again, he only had 15 minutes, but they were very important 15 minutes because he did Some Enchanted Evening and This Daily Was Mine and the duet at the Twin Soliloquy. So it's a wonderful break from their pattern, but that actually establishes patterns for them later on of having an older male lead and having not too many duets and no more ballets, but really incredible music. So There Is Nothing Like a Dame is usually sung by the group of Navy sailors, and they're watching all of the nurses walk by on the island and missing all of their girls back home and wishing that there were a few more girls to go around. So it's really funny when a group of guys sing it, but if you pardon my French, it's absolutely hilarious to have a woman do it. So Here's Nothing Like a Dame. You got sunlight on the sand, you got moonlight on the sea, you got mangoes and bananas you can pick right off a tree, you got volleyball and ping pong and a lot of dandy games. What ain't you got? You ain't got dames. You get packages from home, you get movies, you get shows, you get speeches from your skipper and advice from Tokyo Rose. You get letters doused with perfume, you get dizzy from the smell. What ain't you got? We know damn well. You got nothing to put on a clean white suit for. What you need there ain't no substitute for. There is nothing like a dame, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a dame. You feel restless, you feel blue, you feel lonely and in grief. You feel every kind of feeling but the feeling of relief. You feel hungry as the wolf led when he met Red Riding Hood. See, you can't even say your words. What don't you feel? You don't feel good. Lots of things in life are beautiful, but brother, there is one particular thing that is nothing whatsoever in any way, shape, or form like any other. There is nothing like a dame, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a dame. Nothing else is built the same, nothing in the world as the soft and wavy frame that's the silhouette of a dame. There is absolutely nothing like the frame of a dame. Okay, that's one thing you can do. So, suppose a dame ain't bright, or completely free from flaws, or as faithful as a bird dog, or as kind as Santa Claus. It's a waste of time to worry over things that they have not. Be thankful for the things they've got. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a dame. There are no books like a dame. There are no looks like a dame. There are no drinks like a dame. Hello, Pink Lady. And nothing thinks like a dame. That's accurate. Nothing acts like a dame or attracts like a dame. There ain't a thing wrong with any man here that can't be cured by putting him near a girly, womanly, female, feminine identifying dame.
Yay, Eden, that was wonderful. Thank you for sharing all that cool information about Ezio Pinza and Mary Martin. I never knew that, so that's always really interesting to find out. And of course, wonderful performance. It's so refreshing to hear that song sung by someone who identifies as female. So next, I'll be singing a tune from the Rodgers and Hart catalog, Falling in Love with Love. So this was originally performed in their musical The Boys of Syracuse, which is based on Shakespeare's Two Gentlemen of Verona. But I think today's audiences probably know it best in an entirely different context, which is, of course, the 1997 adaptation of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella for the Wonderful World of Disney. This song was given to Bernadette Peters, and because, let's face it, you can't cast Bernadette Peters and not have her sing. So if you're not familiar with this particular version, I'd recommend checking it out on Disney Plus. It has an amazingly diverse cast and some great musical additions to the original show. Enjoy!
I just wanted to mention that Falling in Love with Love is also a really important jazz standard and has been performed a million times by a million different types of singers. It's just a lovely song. Thank you for sharing it. My next song is A Lovely Night from Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella that Caroline brought up. And so this song comes in Act 2. It's the morning after the ball, and Cinderella is talking to her stepsisters about what it might have been like if she had been there, even though she was. So she's, and then she sings about what it might have been like to dance with the prince, and that's this song. And we all know how that story ends. This song briefly reminds us of a musical theme that we heard in the song 10 minutes ago that Cinderella and the prince sang when they danced.
A lovely night, a finer night you know you'll never see. You meet your prince, a charming prince, as charming as a prince could ever be.
love both of the songs you guys sang. And I love Falling in Love with Love. I think it's so, so pretty. And yeah, it's great as a jazz piece. It's great for us legit soprano people. It's really wonderful. So this one I'm going to do now is called It Might As Well Be Spring, which is from State Fair, which came out in 1945. And it's a little lesser done now, but it's so simple, right? And it's really part of what I would call the Iowa trilogy of musicals that take place in Iowa. So you've got State Fair, 1945. You have The Music Man, mid 1950s. And then the third one I can think of is The Bridges of Madison County, which takes place in Winterset, Iowa. So there's something about Iowa that people who write musicals just love. So wholesome. It's just so middle of the country, right? But this girl, Margie Frake, is restless and she really wants to get out of Iowa. So she's going to go to the State Fair and she's looking for love. And so is her brother. And this is her I Want song. In musicals, we often have a song in the middle of Act One or beginning of Act One called the I Want song, where the character, the lead character or one of the leads is talking about what they want to have happen to them. So Marjorie's very open about it. She wants excitement. She wants to meet somebody she's never met. So she wants to fall in love with somebody new. She is supposed to be marrying the guy from back home who is with her at the fair, but she's just not in love with him. He's a safe choice. So she falls in love with, I think it's a journalist. This has been remade several times. It tours regularly. The remake in the 1960s, I think, had drag racing and motorcycle racing in it because that's what state fairs were doing at that time. That was hip and happening. So I don't know how they would remake it now. But it's a great song. It Might As Well Be Spring, also a jazz standard, and I'm delighted to get to share it with you. I'm as restless as a willow in a windstorm. I'm as jumpy as a puppet on a string. I'd say that I had spring fever, but it isn't even spring. I am starry-eyed and vaguely discontented, like a nightingale without a song to sing. Oh, why should I have spring fever when it isn't even spring? I keep wishing I were somewhere else, walking down a strange new street, hearing words that I have never heard from a man I've yet to meet. I'm as busy as a spider spinning daydreams. I'm as giddy as a baby on a swing. I haven't seen a crocus or a rosebud or a robin on the wing, but I feel so gay in a melancholy way that I might as well be spring. It might as well be spring. I keep wishing I were somewhere else, walking down a strange new street, hearing words that I have never heard from a man I've yet to meet. I'm as busy as a spider spinning daydreams. I'm as giddy as a baby on a swing. I haven't seen a crocus or a rosebud or a robin on the wing, but I feel so gay in a melancholy way that it might as well be spring. It might as well be spring.
Thank you for sharing that, Eden. I love the growing up the Bobby Darin and Margaret version of State Fair that was on TV all the time. So yeah, it's a great show, one that's not done too often. So it's nice to hear something from that. My final selection for tonight also comes from South Pacific, and it's one of my personal favorite songs from the show, Wonderful Guy. So as Eden discussed earlier, the main plot revolves around the romance between the Navy nurse Nellie, there's a tongue twister for you, and the older French planter Emile Debec. So they've fallen in love, and Nellie is reveling in their newfound relationship. And before they ultimately can be together, she must overcome her own personal biases, since she discovers he has 2 mixed race children from a previous relationship. And if you haven't seen it, I urge you to check it out. It's actually a very prescient show, especially considering today's cultural climate. So this is one of my favorite songs to assign to my new students, both soprano and mezzo, can change the key easily. And so it's nice to finally get to be able to sing it. So enjoy.
I expect every one of my crowd to make fun of my proud protestations of faith and romance. And they'll say I'm naive as a babe to believe any fable I hear from a person in pants. Fearlessly, I'll face them and argue their doubts away. Loudly, I'll sing about flowers in spring. Flatly, I'll stand on my little flat feet and say, love is a grand and a beautiful thing. I'm not ashamed to reveal the world famous feeling I feel. I'm as corny as Kansas in August. I'm as normal as blueberry pie. No more smart little girl with no heart. I have found me a wonderful guy. I am in a conventional dinner with a conventional star in my eye. And you will note there's a lump in my throat when I speak of that wonderful guy. I'm as trite and as gay as a daisy in May, a cliche coming true. I'm bromidic and bright as a moon-happy night, pouring light on the dew. I'm as corny as Kansas in August, high as a flag on the 4th of July. If you'll excuse an expression I use, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with a wonderful guy. I'm as corny as Kansas in August, high as a flag on the 4th of July. If you'll excuse an expression I use, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with a wonderful guy.
Awesome. I love that. That's a standard piece for many a soprano. Thank you for sharing that. Wonderful job. For my final solo piece tonight, I'm going to sing Johnny One Note, which is from the 1937 musical Babes in Arms. And at my first college teaching job in Florida, this is one of the first songs I assigned to a talented young mezzo that I had, and she did a beautiful job. And I will always remember that. So shout out to you, Bella Guzman, if you're watching. I miss you. So the story of Babes in Arms surrounds Val and Marshall, whose parents have left them behind to go do the vaudeville circuits. And so the kids decide to start their own show. And this song is sung by a character named Baby Rose, who is a former child star being brought on to join the other young characters. And she sings this song as the finale to their Follies show. And I'll let it speak for itself. It's pretty fun. Enjoy.
Johnny could only sing one note, and the note he sang was this. Ah! Poor Johnny, one note, sang out with gusto and just overlorded the place. Poor Johnny, one note, yelled willy-nilly until he was blue in the face. For holding one note was his ace. Couldn't hear the brass, couldn't hear the drum. He was in a class by himself, by gum. Poor Johnny, one note, got in Aida, indeed a great chance to be brave. He took his one note, howled like the north wind, brought forth wind that made critics rave. While Verdi turned around in his grave, couldn't hear the flute or the big trombone. Everyone was mute. Johnny stood alone. Cats and dogs stopped yapping. Lions in the zoo all were jealous of Johnny's big trail. Thunderclaps stopped clapping. Traffic ceased its roar, and they tell us Niagara stood still. He stopped the train whistles, boat whistles, steam whistles, cop whistles, all whistles bowed to his skill. Sing, Johnny, one note, sing out with gusto, and just overwhelm all the crowd. So sing, Johnny, one note out loud. Sing, Johnny, one note. Sing, Johnny, one note out
Thank you, Rachel. I love Johnny One Note. That's such a great song. I saw a production of Babes in Arms when I was in grade school, I want to say, and that number has always stuck with me. So before we go, have a couple of special treats for you. So first, when we were planning for this episode, Rachel and I were both discussing about how much we loved the 1997 Cinderella when we were growing up. And thus we came up with an idea for a collaboration. So we hope you enjoy listening to this as much as we had making it. So I'll let it be a little surprise. So you may have already seen a sneak preview if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, which you should, by the way. Enjoy.
Why would a fellow want a girl like her, a frail and fluffy beauty? Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a solid girl like me?
She's a frothy little bubble with a flimsy kind of charm, and with very little trouble, I could break her little arm.
Oh, why would a fellow want a girl like her, so obviously unusual? Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a usual girl like me? Her cheeks are a pretty shade of pink,
But not any pinker than the roses,
her skin may be delicate and soft,
but not any softer than the dozes.
her neck is no wider than a swan's.
She's only as dainty as a daisy.
She's only as graceful as a bird. So why is the fellow going crazy? Oh, why would a fellow want a girl like her? A girl who's merely lovely. Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a girl who's merely me? What's the matter with the man? What's the matter with the man? What's the matter with the man?
Yay, I hope you enjoyed that. I really hope Caroline and I get to sing that in person one day on like a concert or something, and we can be really catty towards each other. And yes, if you haven't seen the Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, I would also recommend checking out the black and white version from 1957 with Julie Andrews. It's beautiful. And I have it on DVD. Not that anyone uses DVDs anymore. So some people. So this week, Eden, Caroline, and we recorded the song You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel. And we did this as tribute to Jean Maxon Carpenter, who was a wonderful friend who we suddenly lost a few weeks ago. So I just want to talk about her quickly, and then we'll have this tribute song at the end of our show. So this is an enormous loss. Jean was an incredibly talented pianist. She was a really generous musician. She gave her time super freely, and she was a supportive friend to many people, including me and Eden. And Caroline knew her as well. Caroline and I did a project with her for the Contemporary Theater Company Springboard season, where we did 3 one-act operas and Jean played, and it was just such a good experience. And so she was well known in the Rhode Island musical community for her work. She worked at the University of Rhode Island for a while, Lincoln School. She was a private piano teacher. She music directed. She directed choruses. She did several projects and musicals at the Contemporary Theater Company. She also founded a chorus there. She also was the music director for the South County Chamber Singers. And I could go on and on about all the things that she did after she moved to Rhode Island in 2006. She was a huge believer of the power of music to bring a community together, and her loss is devastating. And I'm going to turn it over to Eden for whatever she might want to say about Jean as well.
I work with Jean on several productions at the Contemporary Theater Company, and we were friends with her through the voice teacher community. I remember being backstage doing Sweeney Todd. And so she was stuck at the piano with her 3 other people, in the little tiny pit and everything. And just watching her have total command of that music. I am not a bad pianist, but I would just watch her fingers fly. And I would be, 10 seconds before coming on stage, but I always wanted to go over and just watch her fingers and watch her do it. How does she do that? How does she do that? But she made it look so easy, and it wasn't easy, but she was such a skilled and accomplished musician. She just did a wonderful job with it. And yes, so generous to everybody. All of her students stayed friends with her for years and years. And that's a real testament to her generosity of spirit. And so, Dan, we're so sorry for your loss, and we're sorry that we've lost her, but we're so grateful that we had her for so long. And I think the lesson of Jean is be generous. Share your musical gifts with everybody in any way you can. And the more you share, the bigger your gifts grow. So I think with Jean, she has shared all of that with us. And so now we must take that forward and share. And that would make her happy.
So thanks, Eden. And we'll now play You'll Never Walk Alone.
Don't be afraid.
So thank you both to Rachel and Eden for sharing those really beautiful tributes to Jean. As Rachel mentioned, I was honored to work with Jean a couple of years ago on production of 3 one-act operas. I was appearing in The Telephone as Lucy. It's still, to this day, one of my favorite roles and one of my favorite experiences being on stage. And a lot of that has to do with Jean. She was so gracious, so attentive, so musically knowledgeable. I, even though I only knew her a short time, I felt very blessed to have had the chance to work with her. And especially now that I realize what an impact she had on the theater community. So thank you for sharing that. And I loved getting to do that with you ladies. And thank you so much for tuning in again to our audience. Once again, to support future programming, please show us some love at our coffee page that's linked down below. Even $1 or $2 makes a difference, just the price of a daily cup of coffee. And the best thing, there's no monthly commitment, no commitment at all. You can just chip in however much or however little as you want. We have some amazing plans coming up for the spring. And we also have an email list if you'd like to get some sneak peeks at those. We promise we do not send spam. We're not about that. But yeah, keep, masking up, washing your hands, and yeah, get your vaccine when you're able. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Eden, so much for joining us. This is really a pleasure. And so Caroline and I actually, we're a little tired. So we're going to take a break in April. We're gonna see you again in May. We'll be doing a Shakespeare theme, and we'll be doing a collaboration with our friends at Perk and Bark. If you haven't checked them out, they're awesome. And please check out the Eden Show, edencastile.com. And for Aperitivi, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you're watching on Facebook, there's going to be a replay if it hasn't already happened. So share with your friends, and cheers to my ladies. Thank you.
Cheers.